Good morning, everyone. My name is Sabrina Spence from the class of 2018, and I have the honor and privilege of introducing Ayanna Martin. Now, imagine the most stylish, charismatic person you've ever met. If it's not Ayanna, you're wrong. Our paths crossed because we both got picked up from school outside of the Mara room by what used to be the cafeteria. Although she was older than me in the class of 2015, she always made time to talk to me. I would grow to know her as a compassionate powerhouse, an impeccable dresser, and someone I knew to watch because she was going to be a star in whatever arena she walked into. She was commanding in a way that I wanted to be. While at St. Mary's, she was a member of the National Honor Society, Beta Club, a mock trial superstar, and president of the French Honor Society. After graduating, she went on to earn a bachelor's degree in international leadership and development from Vanderbilt University, start her own clothing line, Worthy Apparel, which partners with a Memphis-based scholarship fund, write a book, venture into real estate investment, and cement herself as a dynamic public speaker and conference host. Now, she's pursuing her JD at Howard Law School in Washington, D.C., where she serves as a staff editor for the Howard Law Journal and works as a student attorney for the Fair Housing Clinic, advocating against housing discrimination. Upon graduation, she'll be working at one of the top global law firms in the world. She really is that girl. And she remains flawless through it all. If her wisdom today is going to be anything like her senior speech, which I still remember from my freshman year, you are in for a treat. It is my pleasure to welcome the dynamic, cosmopolitan rock star, the person I want to be when I grow up, Ayanna D. Martin.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Part of me was like, is that me? Good morning. It feels great to be home. Thank you so much, St. Mary's, for having me. 10 years ago, I stood behind this very podium and opened my senior speech with the words of Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It shades our cheeks and hides our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth the myriad subtleties. That moment was more than just an assignment or a tradition. It was the first time that I gave language to the parts of my story that had gone unnamed. I spoke about housing insecurity, about resilience, about finding steadiness in the midst of instability. I stood here as a high school senior with a quiet hope that the experience I had lived may one day mean something, that maybe, just maybe, they would be shaping me for a future I could not yet see. I didn't know how it would quite unfold. I couldn't map the path, but I hoped that somehow the character formed through these experiences would prepare me to make a difference. And in many ways, that moment planted a seed of purpose, a seed of becoming. As I went on to Vanderbilt, and like many of you sitting here today, especially those preparing for college, I remember what it felt like to dream big and to think hard about the future. I remember wondering whether my experiences up to that point would actually lead somewhere, and most importantly, whether all the hard work would really pay off. But today, I'm here to sing a new tune, and that tune is simple. Good things take time, so grow deep roots. Like many of us in this room, I took pride in being an overachiever, not just doing things well, but doing things early. I liked efficiency, excellence, all preferably ahead of schedule. I guess you can say that's a byproduct of being from the city of grit and grind. That mindset followed me well into college. In fact, and please don't tell them that, but I remember there was one class at Vandy where I didn't crack open a single reading because I had already read and debated that same material right here at St. Mary's. These weren't shortcuts, just small signs of the ways I'd been able to skip the line, at times. I graduated early, I bought my first home at 22, and for a long time, I felt that I was ahead of the curve. So when it came to law school, something I had dreamed of since childhood, I thought, naturally, I'll just keep up the pace. I'll take a quick break and then move forward. But God had other plans. Not quite ready to leave my friends in the middle of our senior year of college, I accepted a fellowship with a national civil rights litigation firm that specialized in class and collective actions, bringing on lawsuits against some of the biggest and the baddest corporations in the world with claims of workplace discrimination, other Title VII violations, and the like. And I'll never forget my interview where my now beloved mentor told me, "The good part about this job is we're going to give you the work of a first-year attorney. The bad part about this job is we're going to give you the work of a first-year attorney." His words were no exaggeration. That role stretched me. It taught me how to manage deadlines, think more critically, write persuasively, and advocate effectively, as if someone's life depended on it. And trust me, at times it did. What started as a 2-year stint became 4 as the pandemic disrupted every plan I thought I had. And during my final year with the firm, they relocated me to the DC area to train the next cohort of fellows. By the time I left, I was walking away with one of my recommendation letters in hand, tearing up as one of the partners said, "For Ayanna, the law is not just a vocation or a career, it is a calling." That moment said more than a resume ever could. And by the end, I knew she was right. That's just one example of the many relationships I gained during that season that I could not have possibly networked my way into. And it was a hallmark of sorts, of an experience that has paid itself forward 1,000 times over. From there, I went on to complete the SEO fellowship in DC. I did a stint as a legislative analyst, worked for a chief federal judge, and somehow found myself landing a pre-law fellowship with one of the top 3 firms in the world, all before finally starting my first year of law school. And it was in that season that I began to grow deep roots. It was in that season that I began to realize that it was necessary for me to start viewing time as an ally and not an enemy. I had time to observe, to listen, to learn how systems work, and how sometimes they may fail people. I gained hands-on experience that couldn't be taught in a classroom. I built relationships that mean the world to me. I ended up in rooms that I never would have chosen, but somehow they ended up choosing me. And in those spaces, I learned the power of presence, the quiet skill of showing up prepared, and the sacred responsibility of using your voice to advocate when it counts. Time taught me how to be detail-oriented, how to advocate with compassion, how to sit in a room, read a room, even the moment, to know when to speak, when not to speak. These are what they call soft skills, but more than that, these are root-deep lessons, the kind that shape who you are, not just what you do. And I think I really started to feel those deep roots taking shape when my decisions started to carry more weight, not just for me, but for other people. Like when I took the leap from being a homeowner to being a landlord, that wasn't just about investment or ownership. It taught me a lot about what it means to carry responsibility, about how to manage something as personal as someone else's home. It pushed me to think about how I like to define fairness, compassion, and exercise discernment. It also taught me a lot about timing, not just in a financial or a market sense, but in the sense of knowing when to hold back, when to move, and when to simply let things unfold. I now see that same theme playing out in the Fair Housing Clinic, where I'm learning how to help advocate for people facing eviction, but also learning how to sit with them, hear them, and take their stories seriously. There's a certain level of detail, care, and readiness that you have to bring to that sort of space. It can't be performative because these are real people with real lives, and the outcomes of their cases have real consequences. And outside of law school, I found myself spending time with high school students, mostly in the Northeast, helping them with their college applications and personal statements. And a lot of that work is just helping them figure out how to tell their story, helping them see that they already have something to say as they too are forming their own deep roots. And now I find myself in this time of reflection, noticing just how far these deep roots have grown. Because it wasn't just about what I was accomplishing, it was about how I was showing up and who I was becoming in the process. And none of that came from hustling harder. It came from surrendering to timing, from realizing that divine timing is always better than personal momentum. That's why Delay is often preparation in disguise. And if you let it, time will not just take you places, it'll transform you along the way. I say all of that because I know what it feels like to want answers now, to want to be certain about where you're going. And I think your parents do too. About what you do and what you'll become, but the truth is, the things that matter most, they won't happen overnight. They'll take time. And guess what? They should. Because real growth does not rush, and deep roots never form on the surface. So take your time, grow deep roots, and trust that what you're building, even now, will carry you further than you think. Thank you.